Beneath the glittering facade of wealth and power, Marie Antoinette's life was a maze of secrets, whispers, and forbidden desires. With every move she made, the tension built, until the very people who once adored her would become her fiercest enemies. From being France's beloved empress to triggering a historic revolution, Marie's fall from grace has fascinated historians worldwide. Here are the 14 scandalous things you didn't know about Marie Antoinette. The rumored affair with Count Ferson. In a new study published in the journal Science Advances, hidden letters of Marie Antoinette have been revealed. Marie Antoinette was suspected of having a romantic relationship with a Swedish nobleman named Count Axel von Ferson. Their secret letters, which were decoded in 2016, confirmed they shared a close bond that went beyond just being friends. This news caused a lot of gossip in the French court. Researchers explained that during the French Revolution, Marie Antoinette exchanged secret letters with von Ferson, who was rumored to be her lover. Over time, someone had censored parts of these letters, making them hard to read. Historians had been curious about what was hidden in these sections for almost 150 years. To solve this mystery, scientists used a special technique called X-ray fluorescence spectroscopy. This method allowed them to look beneath the censored parts of the letters. By doing this, they were able to read the hidden words in 8 of the letters. However, 7 letters are still difficult to decode because the method did not fully work on them. The letters between Marie Antoinette and von Ferson were written between 1791 and 1792. For a long time, it was unclear who had crossed out certain sections of these letters. But the new research has revealed that von Ferson himself was likely the person who tried to hide these parts. The analysis of the ink used in the letters showed that the same ink was used for both writing and censoring the content. Some of the censored phrases included words like beloved and adore. Other phrases such as no, not without you, and you, whom I love and will continue to love until my, were also scratched out. Although these words sound very affectionate, they still don't prove that Marie Antoinette and von Ferson were lovers. Many people have long believed they were, but these letters don't give definite proof. Most of the letters between them were about political matters, showing Marie Antoinette's concerns about what was happening in France at the time. A scandalous gambling habit. Marie Antoinette, the last queen of France before the French Revolution, has been the subject of many rumors. One rumor is that she had a habit of gambling. However, there is no solid proof to confirm this claim. Some historians believe that she may have taken part in high-stakes games at the Palace of Versailles. Her reputation for living an extravagant lifestyle may have led to the spread of these stories. But it is important to remember that historians still debate whether these claims are true or not. As a young girl, Marie Antoinette's mother taught her how to gamble. Her mother, the empress, believed that a princess who did not know how to play well could lose money quickly. In Austria, the stakes in gambling were even higher than in France. This made her a bold player. When she became a teenager, she developed a strong liking for gambling. Over time, she even started to rake up gambling debts. Marie Antoinette's husband was concerned about the country's finances. He wanted to set an example of saving money, so he told her to stop gambling. But Marie Antoinette asked him if she could play one last game. Louis agreed, but she ended up making that game last for 3 whole days. This made the king very upset. Even though Marie Antoinette's gambling days were over, gambling in France continued. After the monarchy fell, the people who replaced Louis and Marie Antoinette also gambled. Historian Russell T. Barnhart shared that gambling had moved from the royal court to the new places where the revolutionaries gathered. In one place, 5 main clubs were always busy with games from noon until midnight. Even important people, like Prince Talleyrand and Marshal Blucher, were known to win or lose huge amounts of money. In 1806, Napoleon decided to control the gambling by legalizing the main clubs. This helped the government raise money through taxes. Between 1819 and 1837, the clubs made a huge profit of 137 million francs. Although gambling was only a small part of Marie Antoinette's life, it is something people remember about her. Her acts of charity, on the other hand, are often forgotten. It seems that the mistakes she made as a young queen are often brought up to justify the events of the Revolution. She almost escaped France. In 1791, Marie Antoinette and her family tried to escape the French Revolution. They dressed in disguise and headed toward the Austrian border, hoping to flee. However, her husband hesitated during their journey, which slowed them down. They also didn't blend in well with common people, making them stand out. These mistakes led to their capture in a town called Varennes. This event sealed their fate, making it impossible for them to avoid the revolution's impact. In the days after the Bastille was stormed, members of the high aristocracy, fearing for their lives, began to leave France. This started on July 17th with the departure of the Count of Artois and the king's cousins, the Condé. The unpopular Polignac family also left. Even though Marie Antoinette's life was in danger too, she chose to stay by her husband's side. The king was losing his power day by day as the National Constituent Assembly started to take control. On August 4th, 1789, the National Constituent Assembly abolished feudal privileges, which had given special rights to nobles. Shortly after, on August 26th, they adopted the Declaration of the Rights of Man and of the Citizen, a document that laid the foundation for a new kind of government. This document was drafted by Lafayette with the help of Thomas Jefferson. A constitutional monarchy was established, lasting from September 4th, 1791, until September 21st, 1792. Despite these major changes, life at the royal court continued as usual. But in Paris, things were getting worse because people were running out of bread. On October 5th, a large group of people marched from Paris to Versailles. They forced the royal family to move to the Tuileries Palace in Paris, where they were kept under house arrest, watched over by Lafayette's National Guard. Meanwhile, the Count of Provence and his wife were allowed to live in the Petit Luxembourg until they went into exile on June 20th, 1791. During this time, Marie Antoinette continued to do charitable work and attended religious events. However, most of her time was spent with her children. She also played an important, though quiet, political role between 1789 and 1791. She had complex relationships with key political figures, including Necker, the Prime Minister of Finances. Even though she didn't like him, she helped bring him back into office. She blamed him for supporting the revolution and wasn't sad when he resigned in 1790. 7 years of an unconsummated marriage. Marie Antoinette and King Louis got married in 1770, but their union faced challenges right from the start. For 7 years, they remained childless, leading to rampant rumors and doubts about Marie Antoinette's ability to conceive. The royal court and political pressures intensified these worries, as there was a strong expectation for the queen to produce an heir. This strain was compounded by the couple's shaky relationship, and Marie Antoinette's reputation as extravagant only deepened her unpopularity. Her infamous quote, "Let them eat cake," became a symbol of her perceived disconnect from the hardships faced by ordinary citizens. Their marriage was strategically arranged to strengthen ties between France and Austria after France's defeat in the 7 Years' War. The French public harbored resentment towards Austria, blaming it for their losses, which fueled their discontent with Marie Antoinette, an Austrian princess. Despite her unpopularity, she experienced moments of admiration, particularly when she dazzled the public in 1773. In the early years, Marie Antoinette held little political sway, though she did contribute positively to France by aiding in resolving a conflict between Bavaria and Austria. Still, many in the French court regarded her as a foreigner, leading to mistrust. Complications arose due to Madame du Barry, the mistress of King Louis XV, who wielded significant political power and worked to oust influential figures, including Etienne François, who had facilitated Marie Antoinette's marriage. Tensions grew between Marie Antoinette and Madame du Barry, particularly after Marie refused to engage with her, a decision viewed as politically unwise that strained relations with Austria. The political landscape shifted when King Louis died in 1774 and Marie's husband ascended the throne. Shortly after, he exiled Madame du Barry, much to the relief of Marie Antoinette. Eventually, the couple had 4 children, marking a success in their marriage. However, the French people's opinion of Marie Antoinette never fully improved, as she continued to grapple with her unpopularity throughout her reign. Despicable charge. 9 months after her husband's brutal execution, a revolutionary tribunal tried the former queen on trumped-up crimes against the French Republic. The charges against her included high treason and sexual promiscuity on account of her various alleged romances with men like Count Ferson. However, one nefarious charge against her that baffles people to this date was having inappropriate physical relations with her son, Louis XVII. According to reports, Louis XVII was forced by the revolutionaries to testify that his own mother had molested him. After a 2-day show trial, an all-male jury found the former queen guilty on all charges and unanimously condemned her to death. After she was sentenced, Louis XVII was taken away from her and entrusted to shoemaker Antoine Simon, who was a shoemaker and revolutionary, best known for his stint as governor of the young Louis XVII. The cobbler was responsible for the prince's education in the temple, with one clear objective: to make him renounce his royal origins. He manipulated the young Dauphin into testifying against his own mother at her trial. The young Louis, just 8 years old, remained in jail under the care of his new instructor. Confined in filthy conditions, he soon fell seriously ill. In 1795, just as the revolutionaries were considering using him as a bargaining chip with the Austrian army, along with his sister Madame Royale, Louis XVII died of tuberculosis. His heart, preserved by coroner Philippe Jean Pelletan, was transferred to the royal crypt at Saint-Denis. The affair of the diamond necklace. In the late 1700s, a scandal involving Queen Marie Antoinette shook France. It was called the Affair of the Diamond Necklace and happened between 1784 and 1785. The queen was accused of trying to get an extremely expensive diamond necklace through a shady deal with a cardinal. Even though she had no part in this, people blamed her, which made her reputation even worse. Before this event, Marie Antoinette was already disliked by many due to rumors and gossip. This necklace scandal made things worse. The jewelers worked hard to collect these diamonds, and they made a necklace that they hoped the queen would buy. This necklace had 17 diamonds that were so big they were compared to filberts, a type of nut. The jewelers thought this necklace would be perfect for Marie Antoinette, who was the new Queen of France at the time. In 1778, Marie Antoinette's husband offered her the necklace as a gift, but Marie Antoinette refused to take it. She said that the country needed ships more than fancy jewelry. Some people said she didn't want the necklace because it was made for Madame du Barry, a woman she disliked. Others believed it was the king who changed his mind about giving her the necklace. A few years later, after the birth of her son Louis Joseph in 1781, the jewelers tried again to sell the necklace to Marie Antoinette, but she refused once more. However, Jeanne de Valois-Saint-Remy, a woman pretending to be close to the queen, tricked the jewelers. She forged Marie Antoinette's signature and convinced the cardinal that the queen wanted the necklace. Jeanne was later caught and punished, but the damage to Marie Antoinette's image was already done. This scandal became one of the many reasons the French people started to lose faith in the monarchy. It gave them more reason to support the French Revolution, which would come a few years later. The Queen's secret village. Marie Antoinette had a charming retreat called the Hameau de la Reine, built in 1783. This small village was located on the grounds of the Versailles Palace, designed as a peaceful escape from her royal responsibilities. The hameau included a dairy, a bakery, a mill, and other quaint structures, giving it a countryside atmosphere. Marie Antoinette loved spending time there, enjoying a simpler life away from the bustling palace. However, this village also became a symbol of her extravagance, leading many French people to feel that she was disconnected from their struggles, which contributed to her unpopularity. Today, the Hameau de la Reine attracts many tourists and serves as a reminder of Marie Antoinette's unique lifestyle. The estate surrounding the village featured other notable buildings, including the Grand Trianon, a country house situated along the Grand Canal. Designed by architect Mansart and made of pink marble, the Grand Trianon offered a luxurious yet relaxed setting. King Louis used it to escape the grandeur of Versailles, hosting ladies for simple meals, games, and boat rides. After the French Revolution, leaders like Napoleon and Louis-Philippe stayed there, and later, Charles de Gaulle hosted foreign guests at the Grand Trianon. Another significant part of the estate was the Petit Trianon, built for King Louis XV by architect Gabriel, but became most famous during Marie Antoinette's time. She cherished the Petit Trianon as it reminded her of the freedom of her childhood. Here, she could relax and spend time with friends, escaping the strict royal court. She also created an English-style garden at the Petit Trianon, filled with charming buildings and cozy shelters. Many of these structures have been carefully restored over the years. Near the garden, the Queen's Hamlet featured real peasants living in picturesque country-style houses, bringing the essence of rural life to her doorstep. Overall, the estate at Versailles, with its stunning architecture and serene gardens, provided Marie Antoinette a tranquil refuge from her royal duties. Royal Ride at Versailles. Growing up in Austria, Marie Antoinette enjoyed riding horses and dancing. Sitting in the palace in fancy clothes bored her, but she was helpless in the face of royal etiquette. One of her biggest critics was an Austrian diplomat named the Count of Mercy Argenteau, or simply Mercy. He helped arrange her marriage to the Dauphin and came to France with her. Mercy had power because he could tell the Empress everything about Marie Antoinette. He also tried to influence her decisions based on what her mother wanted. Mercy claimed he was helping Marie Antoinette, but sometimes he went too far. When she talked about horse riding, he wrote to King Louis XV. He told the king that Marie Antoinette was too young and might get hurt. Mercy also wrote to her mother, who agreed. She thought riding could ruin Marie Antoinette's looks and was too risky before the age of 30. Due to these concerns, King Louis XV said Marie Antoinette could not ride horses. However, he made a deal with her. She could ride donkeys instead. Mercy didn't mind this and said donkeys were not at all dangerous. So, they began looking for gentle donkeys in the French countryside. When they found these friendly donkeys, it wasn't just Marie Antoinette who rode them. All her ladies did too. One of her ladies was Anne d'Arpajon, who was very strict about court rules. Because of her strictness, Marie Antoinette called her Madame Etiquette, showing they often disagreed. At Versailles, riding donkeys became one of Marie Antoinette's favorite activities. While donkey riding is usually for children, it was a fun escape for the queen. And because the king didn't allow her to ride horses, donkey riding became the new trend among the wealthy in France. Her lavish fashion. Marie Antoinette was famous for her love of fashion, but her lavish tastes in clothes, wigs, and jewelry drew criticism. Many people called her Madame Deficit because they believed she spent too much while France's economy suffered. As the Queen of France, she was expected to be a fashion leader, and her extravagant style reflected that. During her reign, dresses featured elaborate embroidery, ribbons, and feathers. Her favorite dressmaker, Rose Burton, was seen as the first real fashion designer, earning the title Minister of Fashion. Burton created grand dresses for the Queen, some as wide as 16 feet, adorned with decorations and long trains. The most popular style was the robe à la française, made famous by Madame de Pompadour, while the robe à l'anglaise also gained popularity. Pastel colors were trendy during this time, aligning with the light Rococo style. Shoes, particularly slippers or slip-on heels, were essential to fashion and resembled modern styles, like those from brands such as Midnight 00 or Roger Vivier. Marie Antoinette's hairstyles were equally significant. Her hairdresser, Léonard crafted her iconic tall, poofy hairstyles, often powdered white. She valued her hair so much that even before a public trial during the French Revolution, she insisted, "Come, Léonard, dress my hair. I must go like an actress, show myself to a public that may hiss at me." To achieve her towering hairstyles, they used wires, wool, and pads, decorating them with jewels and feathers. After a French victory, she wore a style called pouf à la belle poule to celebrate. Since women couldn't participate in government or military roles, they expressed support for France through fashion. Overall, fashion during Marie Antoinette's time prioritized status over comfort, exemplifying the saying, "Beauty is pain." It's intriguing to reflect on how different fashion was centuries ago. The misquoted, "Let them eat cake." Marie Antoinette, the Queen of France during the French Revolution, is often remembered for the quote, "Let them eat cake." However, this statement is likely false and was probably created by her enemies to depict her as out of touch with her people's suffering. The story claims that when Marie Antoinette learned her subjects had no bread, she carelessly suggested they eat cake instead, implying indifference to their hardships. The original French phrase attributed to her was "qu'ils mangent de la brioche," which translates to "let them eat brioche." Brioche is a richer type of bread, but it is not cake. Historians have found no evidence that Marie Antoinette ever made this statement. The origin of the quote is linked to a common theme in stories about wealthy rulers who are unaware of the struggles faced by the poor. A similar tale exists from 16th century Germany about a noblewoman who questioned why hungry people didn't simply eat sweet bread. The first recorded mention of "qu'ils mangent de la brioche" was by French philosopher Jean-Jacques Rousseau in his book Confessions, written around 1767, where he attributed the quote to a great princess. Since Marie Antoinette was a child at that time, it is unlikely he meant her. Rousseau's writings influenced many revolutionaries, leading to a possible misconnection of the quote to Marie Antoinette. Some believe it was used as propaganda to incite anger against the monarchy. However, modern researchers have found no contemporary evidence linking the quote to her in newspapers or pamphlets from that era. The first mention of the quote associated with Marie Antoinette appeared more than 50 years after the Revolution, in 1843, by writer Jean-Baptiste Alphonse Karr, suggesting that it was not originally about her. Her influence over King Louis XVI. Marie Antoinette was often thought to be a strong influence over her husband, King Louis XVI, leading many to believe she was the real power behind the throne. Her involvement in political decisions, such as appointments and alliances, frustrated the nobles and fueled resentment toward the monarchy. Born to powerful parents, Holy Roman Emperor Francis I and Maria Theresa of Austria, she married Louis, the grandson of King Louis XV, at just 14 in 1770 to strengthen the bond between France and Austria. However, her Austrian background made her unpopular in France, with many fearing she would prioritize Austria's interests over those of France. While Louis XVI was shy and passive, Marie Antoinette was outgoing and took a more active role in court. His lack of interest in government gave her the space to influence decisions, especially after he became king in 1774. She sought comfort among friends and court members, including Princess de Lamballe, which further enhanced her influence. Despite perceptions of her power, her political involvement was complex. Her attempt to restore Étienne François de Choiseul to power in 1774 failed, and the fall of finance minister Anne-Robert Jacques Turgot in 1776 was due to broader political conflicts, not her actions. Marie Antoinette's political ambitions were limited to supporting her friends rather than a true interest in governance. Her efforts to promote Austrian interests often conflicted with those of Louis and his advisors. Although she aimed to assist Austria, her brother, Emperor Joseph II, was disappointed in her lack of success. While she did favor some, like the Comtesse de Polignac, her spending did not significantly harm France's finances. The debt faced by France in the late 1770s and 80s stemmed from various causes beyond her influence. The public humiliation at Versailles. In 1792, Queen Marie Antoinette experienced a significant public humiliation at the Palace of Versailles due to widespread discontent among the French people. They felt the royal family was living lavishly while the rest of the country suffered. Anger escalated, culminating in a mob storming the palace. On June 20th, the Third Estate, consisting of commoners, clergy, and some nobles, attempted to meet to voice their concerns. However, the king locked their meeting place, forcing them to gather at a nearby tennis court. There, they vowed not to leave until they created a new constitution for France. The mob's attack on Versailles began Marie Antoinette's humiliation. They broke windows and doors, and in a desperate attempt to escape, she changed into servant clothes. She fled to the Assembly of Notaries, where she faced questions about rumors regarding her family's financial misconduct. This marked the decline of the royal family's public support. On July 11th, Marie Antoinette urged the king to dismiss Necker, the finance minister, blaming him for the revolution's support. She wanted Breteuil, a minister who promised protection from Swiss soldiers. News of this led to riots, culminating in the storming of the Bastille on July 14th. Following this event, many aristocrats felt endangered and fled Paris, but Marie Antoinette chose to stay with the king, who was losing power to the National Constituent Assembly. On August 4th, the Assembly abolished feudal privileges, and on August 26th, they introduced the Declaration of the Rights of Man and of the Citizen, laying the groundwork for a constitutional monarchy. Meanwhile, severe bread shortages prompted people in Paris to march to Versailles on October 5th, demanding the royal family relocate to Paris. They were subsequently placed under house arrest at the Tuileries Palace. Despite attempts to focus on her children and charitable work, Marie Antoinette's reputation suffered due to false rumors and accusations, signaling the decline of her influence and the royal family's power in France. Her children were taken away. After the execution of King Louis XVI, his young son, Louis Charles, faced a terrible fate. He was imprisoned and forced to speak against his mother, Marie Antoinette. This separation from her children deeply hurt the already sad queen. Marie Antoinette was the last queen of France. She and Louis had 4 children: Marie-Thérèse, Louis-Joseph, Louis Charles, and Sophie. In 1793, during a difficult time known as the Reign of Terror, many of Marie Antoinette's family members were arrested and killed. The queen's children were kept in a place called Temple Prison. Sadly, Louis-Joseph died from illness, and Louis Charles suffered from malnutrition and also died. Sophie helped her sister, Marie-Thérèse, escape from prison during this dangerous time. Marie-Thérèse was the only child who survived and later became known as Madame Royale. When the French monarchy ended, supporters believed that Louis Charles had become King Louis XVII after his father's death. Rumors spread that the boy had escaped and that a different dead child was used in his place. Over many years, many people claimed to be Louis XVII. Some of these claims were not taken seriously, but others convinced people with their evidence. One notable person was Karl Wilhelm Naundorf, a German clockmaker. He wrote memoirs that seemed so real that some royal family members believed him, but his sister Marie-Thérèse did not support him. When Naundorf died in the Netherlands in 1845, both his death certificate and gravestone called him Louis XVII. The idea that Louis XVII had escaped became very popular. More than 500 books were published about the lost Dauphin, and a monthly journal was created in the late 1800s to discuss this theory. The story even caught the interest of famous writer Mark Twain, who mentioned it in his book Huckleberry Finn. Finally, in the year 2000, scientists put this theory to rest with strong evidence. They used DNA from royal relatives, including a lock of Marie Antoinette's hair. This DNA was matched to a sample taken from Louis Charles' preserved heart. The results showed that the young prince had not escaped and had met a tragic end. This discovery finally confirmed the fate of Louis Charles, putting an end to years of speculation and mystery surrounding his life. The queen who went to the guillotine. Marie Antoinette's last moments were both sad and brave. She wore a plain white dress as she faced the guillotine, a machine used for executions. This event happened on October 16, 1793, marking a dark time in French history. Many people saw her as extravagant and believed she caused the suffering of the common people during a severe famine. This idea, along with her involvement in a scandal called the Affair of the Diamond Necklace, led to her downfall. Despite being popular, Marie Antoinette was put on trial. She was accused of treason and plotting against France. On that day, she was found guilty and taken to the Place de la Révolution, where the guillotine awaited her. This event signaled the end of the monarchy and the start of the French Republic. Marie Antoinette was born in 1755 and ruled as Queen of France until her death. On the morning of her execution, her maid found her lying in bed with her hand on her cheek, looking out the window. She wore a black dress, but had to change into a simple white dress for the execution. Her guards watched as the executioner cut her hair with scissors, and she made a bonnet to cover her head. Her hands were tied, but she asked to be untied so she could use the bathroom. By 11 o'clock, she began the journey to her execution. She sat on a cart that took her through the streets. The cart bumped, and she almost fell off. When they reached the Place de la Concorde, the crowd yelled insults at her, but Marie Antoinette held her head high, showing her strength. As she climbed the stairs to the guillotine, she accidentally stepped on the executioner's foot. She quickly said, "Sorry," claiming she didn't mean to. At 15 minutes past noon, Marie Antoinette lost her life. Afterward, Madame Tussaud created a wax model of her face while workers took a break nearby. Her head and body were buried in a mass grave. It took 22 years for her to be buried like a queen. Eventually, she received a Christian burial during the Bourbon Restoration. Today, Marie Antoinette rests with other French royalty in the Basilica of Saint-Denis in Paris. We hope you enjoyed this video. Stay tuned for more.